SC Trainer version 2 was one of my favorite max cushion shoes of 2023. It's a shoe that can do a little bit of everything. But how does it hold up over the long term? Let's talk about the SC Trainer 2 after 100 miles. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys all about the SC Trainer version 2 after 100 miles. But before I do want to go over some disclosures. New Balance sent me these shoes for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for them. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe in this video, and no one's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the SC Trainer version 2 after 100 miles. And for these update videos, I like to talk about how I've been using the shoe in case that's changed over time and how the shoe has physically been holding up. And then I'll update some pairing recommendations and the buying guide and some alternatives that you might also want to consider. First, let's talk about how I've been using the shoe. I've been using the SC Trainer version 2 very similar to how I used last version 1, and that's been to use it as a max cushion shoe, something with a big amount of stack height that's soft and cushioned, but something that can also pick up the pace every once in a while. I think the kind of prime example of the use case for me has been to be able to take it on a long run where I'm not necessarily running at my marathon pace, something that's a little bit more relaxed than that. This last Chicago marathon, I ran it as a fun run, running quite a bit slower than I normally do, and it was really enjoyable to have on feet for a longer period of time. Now the shoe can go faster, and it does have a carbon fiber plate in here, which makes it seem like it might be more of a race-oriented product because it's using New Balance's racing foam in the shoe. But I find that there's just a lot of shoe here, and the plate really seems to be more designed to keep the shoe from being too squishy, and it keeps it stable rather than helping it be a more springy, more aggressive type of shoe. So when I try to pick up the pace, I just start to feel like the bigness of the shoe, and it's not something that I've used for workouts. Now, in terms of how the shoe's been holding up, I'd say the shoe's doing okay. It's maybe doing a little bit worse than I would expect for a shoe at the 100 mile mark. If we look at the upper, there's really no problems that I'm experiencing here. The shoe is starting to mold to the shape of my foot a little bit, which is something that I would start to expect at the 100 mile point. But there's nowhere in the upper where I'm seeing early signs of wear. The materials aren't starting to fail or anything like that. It actually still fits very nice and comfortable, just like it did when it was fresh out of the box. I think the bigger problems that I'm starting to see are in the midsole and outsole. Now, as far as the rubber goes, it seems like the rubber is holding up well, or about as well as I would expect a shoe to hold up at the 100 mile mark. But there are some things visually and I think physically going on with the midsole that have me a little bit concerned. Number one, with the way that this shoe has been designed with like this little rubber like nubbin that's on top of the carbon fiber plate and this very large exposed area of midsole foam, this area is starting to get chewed up quite a bit. And normally I would say that this kind of wear is pretty much just a visual problem, even if it is kind of on the extreme end of a cosmetic issue. I think the bigger issue for me is that the midsole foam here just doesn't seem to be giving me what it used to give me when I first got it out of the box. And it's degrading a little bit faster than I would expect at the 100 mile mark. I just don't feel like it's the same shoe that I had when I initially started running in this. And I'm feeling like the fuel cell just isn't holding up in the same way that other New Balance fuel cell midsole foam shoes have held up. So that's been a little bit of a disappointment to me. I wouldn't say that the shoe is dead or is all done at 100 miles, but I just don't think that I'm gonna get what I would normally expect to get for a shoe that I'm using primarily as a long, easy run or as a max cushion type of shoe. Now, let's talk about some of the pairing options if you want to use a shoe like the SC Trainer version 2 as part of a rotation. Now, I gave some options when I first initially reviewed the shoe, but now that time has passed, we have two other great options to look at, and they're both from New Balance. For your daily trainer, to go with the SC Trainer version 2, I'm gonna suggest the Rebel version 4. It's a lighter, more nimble shoe that you could use for just kind of regular easy days when you don't necessarily want a max cushion shoe, and you could even use it for some of your workouts as well. And then when it comes to racing, if you're not gonna race in the SC Trainer version 2, I think a fine option would be the SC Elite version 4. This is an upgrade to an all PEBA foam. It still has a carbon fiber plate. It's much lighter and much more nimble, much more willing to go fast compared to the SC Trainer version 2. And I feel like these three shoes together will make for a really nice combo of shoes for your next training block. Now let's talk about the buying guide. The SC Trainer version 2 retails at $180, but because it's been out for a little while now, you can find it for a little cheaper than that, depending on how reputable or not reputable of a source you're willing to go with on the internet. And even at $180 today, I feel like that's a pretty standard price for this type and caliber of shoe. But let's take a look at some of the market and what it's offering to see where that $180 stacks up. I think the shoe, in my mind, that stacks up most closely to the SC Trainer version 2 right now is the On Cloud Eclipse. I'm using both of these shoes in very similar ways. They can be used for some faster running, but I generally find that I like them for long, easy runs. If I am gonna pick up the pace, I only wanna pick up the pace a little bit, getting somewhere close to marathon effort, or maybe just a little bit off of that, maybe a little bit slower than that for those longer runs. It's really comfortable and they're light enough that they can still be very exciting for those kinds of runs. And the On Cloud Eclipse retails at $180. Now, the other shoe that I also think is worth looking at is from Adidas, and that's the Boston 12. Now, this is a shoe that I normally don't speak too favorably about because I don't think it's a great Boston. But when I'm thinking about it as a daily trainer that can go long and is really good at a lot of easy and kind of easy plus type of efforts, I feel like the Boston 12 is actually a pretty good option. And I think that people that are gravitating toward the SC Trainer version 2 are probably also going to gravitate toward the Boston 12 as it is right now. Now, the Boston 12 started out at $160, so you're already getting it a lot cheaper than the SC Trainer version 2. But this shoe has also been out for a little while as well, so you can usually find that for a little bit cheaper than that. I've seen it as low as about $112, but Adidas pricing is all over the place and it fluctuates over time. So if you see it at a good price and you want to get it, go and get it. 112 is the lowest that I've been able to see it so far. So those are my thoughts on the SC Trainer version 2 after 100 miles. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to talk to you guys over there in the chat. That's all for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?